for the second dink. There we go. Second dink.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, my thing's
to dance with me. I kind of sound like Rick Astley, I think. I can sound
Have
like
you seen
him
the
if I wanted.
commercial of, I think it's a commercial, since you have cable now.
Oh, you're breaking up. I can't understand you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
There's a cellular service
Uh-huh.
that at the end of the commercial, Rick Astley pops out of a giant cake and starts singing, "If I'm gonna let you down, never gonna let
you down." You got to learn the words.
you.
Yes, that's the Rick roll. I haven't seen that commercial, but I for some reason I've got that "She Wants to Dance with Me" song in my head. She wants to dance with me.
Listening to it. Okay, I actually have tea. You have a beverage?
Oh, I got my beverage. It's lemon water. Chink.
Chink.
Right there.
I also have this delicious full fat but non-flavored yogurt I found at Trader Joe's. Full fat plain Greek yogurt is so hard to find.
Yeah, it is. Usually you have to go
Joe's.
Well, it's Trader Joe's. You also live in California right now.
I have my strawberries too, so.
I've been having lots of strawberries lately. That's good for my tummy.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it is just, frozen pizza.
Gross.
Well, it's whatever you can do. It's the only thing that doesn't sound completely disgusting.
So this week, in the artist's way, going through 12 weeks, I'm on week 9.
Ooh.
Week 9 is on page 160, 50, in the 150 area. And
something like that.
I think this was the first chapter that really kind of spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was talking about fear. And on Friday, I don't know if you watched the video that I put on Facebook.
I did watch that short video.
It was just a little short video talking about this first part of the chapter where she says a lot of people who are creatively blocked, they'll either get feedback from other people telling them that they're lazy, or they'll think that they're lazy. Because of the lack of action that they take on their creative ventures.
I have comments I can make from a writer's perspective when you're done.
Yes. You go ahead and make your comment.
Oh, I was just going to say, a lot of times, well, I mean, in movies, a lot of times you'll see writers and they'll just be laying around doing nothing. And most people assume that writers just aren't working when they're doing that. But the serious ones, the ones who are like legit, they're always working. And that's part of the problem, is that, when your brain is not focused on one thing, it's most of the time it's focused on whatever you're writing, and you're working it out in your head. And it just kind of follows you around everywhere. And so you're always thinking about it. So technically you're always working. And sometimes it can be hard to stop thinking about it. So yes, writers are shown as being lazy, and there are some that are not legit. And yes, they do just sort of lay around and then sort of write something later. But if you're a true writer, most of the time it's like you're always on.
Yeah, and I can say this true for like most and drawer type artists. Although a lot of them are stereotyped, not just lazy, but as crazy.
Right.
Which can also be kind of the same thing, because, and I think this stereotype has come from being a painter. You have to, like bring your emotion. It's like your artwork are your children.
Uh-huh.
You feel they're your children because you put so much of yourself into them, and really all they are about all of your feelings and experiences wrapped up into, this canvas.
Yeah.
No matter what it's depicting, whether it's depicting like a still life scene or an abstract, it has all of that life experience and emotion behind it. And so a lot of artists, I think they go crazy because
They eat paint because they eat paint.
well, a lot of them tend to be on the poor side because we don't know how to, unless you don't know how to get into the business market.
Right.
We're all very visual and visual, like, hey man, let's just all get along, and we're all tapped in so hardcore and emotions that it's difficult. I mean, it's like you working with me with my words.
Yes, it's like
It's such a struggle. It's like trying to climb a mountain while an elephant is sitting on top of you.
which is, yes, it's highly unpleasant. Well, and on a more serious note too, like artists are not taught how to, they're not taught how to get ahead or, market themselves. And that's like it's a completely different thing too. But yes, there's a lot of stereotypes, and you think that you're lazy, but it's not being lazy. It actually takes a very big amount of mental energy. It does take a lot of mental energy.
It does, and there's lots of work that no one ever sees.
Yeah, a lot of practice, a lot of staying up late, a lot of laboring over sentences and stuff. And for writers, it's a lot of reading. So it's also a lot of reading. So
Yeah.
you may think that we're just kicking back with a book, and yeah, maybe we are kicking back with a book, but we're also kicking back with a book that's helping us understand character or helping us understand how to write a particular type of scene. And there's actually just a lot of research that goes into writing that's well done. So anyway.
Yes.
Laziness, lazy we are not. The legit ones, no.
We are not lazy. Yes, legit, not lazy. But she says, instead of calling yourself lazy, it's really just, she's talking about it from the perspective of fears. So getting over your fears, people trying to combat a fear, a lot of, I can see how that's the, now some of the parts of this book, I don't really, I do skip through, I'm going to be honest, because she talks about things that I don't like. A problem because of this is being discouraged in your childhood, being discouraged from usually a parent, to not do your craft. So like when I was younger, I would create those silly books. Like I would write my own books and I would make them and I would illustrate them. It's an illa-chatted.
Yes, illa-chatted.
And she says a lot of people, that fear comes in from their childhood, that their parents started telling them, stop doing that because it's not going to bring you money. Stop doing that because it's not going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes, instead of enabling them and saying, hey, you've got a great talent. Let me show you how to market this, or let's find somebody to teach you how to market this so that you can succeed. Because obviously there are artists all over the place getting paid to do stuff.
Yes. And I was thinking, I really thought back to I never really had people discourage me. But I did have the lack of direction. Like, no one told me to not do something, but they never
Right.
told me what to do either.
Yeah.
So that still left me kind of lost of, all right, well, I even until I graduated high school, through life, I guess even after high school, when I graduated high school, that's when I realized that I was going through without, kind of blind. I don't know how to explain it. A little ignorant, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, what? This is life? This kind of sucks. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So having that lack of anyone telling me these are your options, you know, you can go to university. No one told me either way. Generally, go to college, like super hardcore. I didn't have
Right.
super pressure to do that. I didn't have super pressure to go work somewhere, or, you know, and so I just started to travel. But anyway.
Okay, so which part of the chapter did help you? Let's talk for a million years about the parts that didn't help you at all.
So let's see. I'm trying to sum my notes. The cure to fear is love. That's the point after this part.
Well, that's a nice point. Let's talk about how to practically, you know,
A
use
successful creative career is always built on successful creative failures. The trick is to survive them. That's from page 156. So I think the point of the chapter that I want to spend the rest of the time talking about is conquering the fear. Now, the fear that she's talking about is when you come into a roadblock in your personal life, in your creative life, and you have whatever your fears are, and it stops you from continuing on. And anything in your life, you're going to have these roadblocks. But what's really going to help you is to plow through them. And I think that's hard. It's hard for me, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to recognize that you do recognize the fear, like finding what the fear is, you know? And so in my video, I was talking about that on Friday, finding someone who can listen to you. Like I like talking to you, and someone who's a good listener and who kind of has a background knowledge of where you're coming from, where you can kind of vent to, and to get that feedback from someone else, because sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
So, talking through the situation with someone. Let's give my example was going through this school thing, this whole school issue with me. I've been working on a bachelor's for, I think this is year 8. And
which is completely ridiculous. You should be a doctor by now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I went through 2 years of community college. I got an associate's. I went through 4 years of an interior design program that at the very end, I kept failing one class. And I really just
one class.
Just one class, but it was a giant block to me. And I okay, so do I push through this really horrible class with this in these
sensitive teacher,
depressing circumstances, or do I just move on to something else? So I decided to move on, and now I'm working on a fine art degree in drawing and painting, and it's still going to take me another year, but because I have so many credits, getting financial aid is now becoming hard, because the government's like, so you have all of these credits already and you don't have a degree yet, so we need what you're trying to accomplish. I don't qualify for loans anymore. I'm like maxing out on the amount of money the government will give me to get a bachelor's degree. And then I'm also dealing with, well, Kansas is like kind of depressing to live in right now. So,
I'm not gonna lie, it is.
I just want to be somewhere fun. But if I move somewhere fun, what's that going to do with my college, you know? And then I hear all of these, like, I watch other YouTube people and I like read books of stuff with people who like, I'm successful and I didn't even graduate college. You know?
Which makes you just feel like,
Which makes me like, well, you know, I guess a person can be successful whether they go to college or not, but what's the right road for me, you know? I get so, and this is for every person, I think, you get so wound up in your own little story, in your own little world, that you do need that external perspective.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also think that, you know, there's a certain art to failing well. And I mean, I've been studying just general business success for, gosh, probably about 6 years now. So I've read through tons of books by like Robert Kiyosaki, and I've watched lectures from Tony Robbins, and I love listening to Marie Forleo, who, by the way, is really worth checking out. Her YouTube channel is great, and you can get a bunch of really, really excellent business advice just free from her YouTube channel. And most of all, what these success people have said is that, well, especially Robert Kiyosaki, he's like, if you want to succeed really fast, the best thing you can do is fail as often as you can. Fail as much as you can, as often as you can. I mean, just really make a lot of mistakes, because that is how you learn to do anything, is by making mistakes, which means that you're actually giving it a good try every single time, and eventually you learn. And something that I'm also learning about our particular culture here in North America is that we have this aversion to failure. And we've got this sort of perfectionist attitude, like we're going to do it all just right the first time. And that's not the case. That's not the way we learned how to walk. We learned how to walk by trying it out and falling down. And sometimes that very act right there builds the muscles necessary for actually walking successfully. And it's the same way with your brain. If you're going to learn to be successful, you've just got to put yourself through those cognitive patterns, so that you learn to think differently. So you also have to, there's so many factors to actually being successful or getting through writer's block. Sometimes, for instance, I'll just use writer's block as a creative block in general. Like, I can understand that she's saying it's fear and you have to overcome it with love, but I think you need to be a little more specific if you're actually going to actually get through it. With writer's block, there's some people who think, the way to get through writer's block is just to write every single day and to not edit yourself and to just write. Other people feel like they need a cognitive break, like they need to not write for a little while in order to get it back, and then eventually they get it back. If she's saying that fear is keeping you back, if that's your creative block, then I would have to further define that, and I would personally say it's fear of not fear of losing. What am I trying to say? It's fear of failure.
It's fear. She says it may be a fear of failure or a fear of success.
That's what I'm saying. It's either one of those two things. And honestly, I would look up some of that on Marie Forleo's videos, because she's talked about that. She's talked about both fear of success and fear of failure. Yeah. And those are really important things. Either way, you overcome them with love. Does she say specifically how to overcome them with love? Because that's sort of a pat answer.
Yeah, no, it kind of gets into it. The need to be a great artist makes it hard to be an artist. The need to produce great work of art makes it hard to produce any art at all. Use love for your artist to cure its fear. Stop yelling at yourself. Be nice. Call fear by its right name. But don't call procrastination laziness. Call it fear.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, and try to avoid procrastination.
And avoid procrastination.
Yeah, I think that she's got it. I think if it were more specific exactly about what the fear and what the love is, like how to love yourself. The other thing is though is don't get so loving, quote unquote, and permissive of yourself that you don't hold yourself to any standards. And I think for writers, this is a big reason why they get themselves on a schedule. Professional writers do. They get on a schedule. They have a certain time every day, and they just write. They just write for that period of time every single day, no matter what they're writing on. You know, Monday through Friday, they might take a break, might take 1 or 2 days for a break a week, but they're always writing. They're always doing something. And that keeps their skills up to par. It helps them to improve writing speed. And it gives your brain no choice. You have no choice but to move forward. I think the big thing for me, if I were going to personally apply this to myself, is submitting for publication. I'm so scared of that. I mean, even just publishing my own stuff online, I just get like, well, I don't know.
I know, you need to get over that.
And I putz around about it. I know. I need to it needs to become something that's so regular to me. You know, I produce a piece, I edit, I get it cleaned up, and then I find a place where it would make sense to submit it, and I just submit it, period. That's just what happens.
Yes. And this does, what you're talking about now, it does flow into the, like, setting a schedule. Sorry, the phone ring. 3 phones in the house, and all of them have a different ring.
Okay, we'll have music.
Music. A little intermission.
Music. Okay.
Okay, intermission over. It does, the next section flows into that, like what you're talking about, setting a schedule, where she talks about enthusiasm, having more enthusiasm than discipline. She talks about discipline being this, a lot of people pride themselves on being very disciplined, like an army person, or like a person who gets up at 4 a.m. to run a marathon, and then they go swimming, and then they take a shower, and then they go to work, and they kick ass at work, and then they come home and take care of 5 children, and
F that crap. I don't know.
I have always, like, I kind of, because it's so socially like held up on a pedestal of being super disciplined, I kind of I kind of want it, but on the other hand, I'm like, that sounds exhausting, and it is exhausting to me. And it strips all the fun away of life or of anything that I do during the day. And she talks about discipline being this method of self-love, or like, what's it called? Self-loathing, or it's
probably self-care. That's interesting, because I'm going to be talking about self-care at an upcoming Red Tent event that's, of course, specific for women. But it's
your Red Tent event.
Self-care. Yeah, that's coming up in a couple weeks. And I've been thinking a lot about self-care and how it does require. I think that it helps to have some sort of regimen where it's just something you do. You clean your clothes, you make yourself breakfast, you take a little walk, you take a shower, and
I was trying to find.
You just have a routine.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a difference between a routine and a disciplines.
No, that's what I mean. It's not like regimented. It has to be 800 hours.
Yes.
It's just, this is what you do. And if there is a time that you get up, you only get up so that you can be somewhere else by a certain time.
Yeah.
You don't have to get crazy harsh on yourself. And, if something slips, that's okay. But the whole point is that you've got something regular. You take care of yourself regularly. Artists have a really hard time taking care of themselves. They'll get real focused on their work, or they'll be in the middle of a project and they won't take care of themselves and they end up getting ill, or they just smell bad, or.
Yes, I'm definitely guilty of that. Last night I stayed up till 2 and I was doing fun stuff.
And it was fun. And then I had a migraine the next day.
And then I woke up, there was crap in my lungs. I was coughing up. I slept in. But it's just so difficult because I do like being a night person where my creativity flares at night and like late at night.
Well, and it probably flares late at night because you feel because you've given yourself permission. There's that psychological permission. Everybody else is asleep. You don't have to worry about anybody else. The world is fine. There's nothing else fun to do. Now I can be free to do X.
Yes.
But if you assigned yourself a time like a writer would, you assigned yourself a time saying, this time is specifically set aside for me to do my art, and this is the time for me to do my art, then you've got that fulfilling portion of your day that just always comes back. It's always there. And so it'll allow you to be like, well, I've had my creative time today, and that's okay. So because I've had that, I can go to bed at 10, or I can go to bed at 11, and I can get up at a decent hour and do other things because I know I'll have creative time the next day. And it allows you to get on some sort of a schedule that doesn't exhaust you, so that you don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. on a particular day when you finally have the time and you have to cram all of your creativeness into one period of time. Yes,
that's definitely true. But I wanted to come across this is the part of the book where she's talking about the discipline being rooted in self-admiration, like look at how great I am, kind of feeding the ego.
Yeah.
Admire ourselves for being so wonderful. The discipline itself, not the creative outflow, becomes the point. And so I think her point is, getting a schedule together and getting yourself organized, but still being free enough to allow the creative flow to come out, not being so harsh on yourself. So
yes, adding a level of self-forgiveness and making that a constant practice. I think those two things, like allowing yourself to make mistakes. I mean, just consider that your education. If you think about it, it's just your education. You learn a little bit about something, you make some mistakes, you learn from your mistakes, it's all good. And then just forgiving yourself and trying the best you can every day.
Yeah.
But loving yourself enough to give yourself some sort of a system or a structure so that you can both be useful to yourself and others, and also be fresh to express your art.
Yes. I agree. And speaking of being fresh and expressing yourself in a loving manner,
yes,
I'm working on affirmation portraits.
Ooh, excellent.
And I have room for a little more. Everyone to sign up. I'm only offering them during the summer, and through August 2015, I'm offering them at cost. And the first batch that I've done, I've made some tweaks to, and so it's evolving. And the whole point of this is I'm doing the research. I'm doing some research behind how emotion can be reflected in a visual form, which for any artist, whether they are beginner level or extreme, like popular artists, relating emotion and making someone feel a certain way is like, as when you look at a painting or something, is really difficult because everyone things are triggered. Words aren't coming out of my mouth as
Everybody
I want them
sees
to.
something different when they look at a picture. So if there's something
Yeah, because
specifically
they're all
that you want,
bringing their own background and what, something can trigger something, happiness and sadness in another person. So I think it's fascinating subject. So that's why I'm offering them at cost, and they are awesome. You'll love it. I'm also putting together, you'll be proud of me, I am putting together my first course.
oh,
My first e-course
fantastic.
of how to make, that will be next after I'm done with this wave of affirmation portraits, how to make your own affirmation portrait. And it will be several subjects.
Okay.
So
That sounds
I'm excited about that. I'm going to put all the links below.
Okay.
Thank you for the chat.
You're welcome for the chat. I always love to chat.
I love the chatty chats. I think after this is finished, I'm really some more interview chatting, because I really like this.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's great.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye.